Charlie's Angels. 1976 to 1981 was more than just a groundbreaking TV show. It became a cultural phenomenon that captivated audiences worldwide. Behind the glamour and intrigue of these daring detectives lay real lives marked by triumphs, trials, and tragedies. Over the years, some cast members faced unexpected accidents and spiraling challenges that changed their paths forever. Now, in 2025, where are these iconic angels? What have their journeys revealed about resilience and reinvention? Let's unravel their stories of transformation and discover where life has led them today. Jaclyn Smith, who portrayed Kelly Garrett, was 31 years old when she brought elegance, sophistication, and steel resolve to the longest-standing angel in Charlie's Angels. Her character, calm under pressure yet emotionally layered, stood as the heart of the trio. After the show, Jaclyn struggled to reclaim her stardom. Her post-series career was dotted with forgettable TV movies, and attempts at big-screen success floundered. Off-screen, her romantic life was filled with heartbreak. She married 4 times. Her first 2 marriages ended in bitter divorces, and her third, to filmmaker Tony Richmond, produced 2 children, Gaston and Spencer Margaret. But that union too collapsed under the strain of infidelity and fame. Her final marriage to surgeon Brad Allen brought stability, though distant affection plagued it. Her relationship with her children has remained warm, yet marked by long silences and misunderstood expectations. Among her life's tragedies were a breast cancer diagnosis, a near-fatal car accident in the 90s, the death of her younger brother to addiction, financial ruin in a failed skincare line, and years of quiet estrangement from former co-stars. Now 80, she lives quietly in Los Angeles, supported by an estimated estate of $20 million, clinging to nostalgia more than hope. David Doyle, who played John Bosley, was 47 when he took on the role of the affable, endearing liaison between the angels and the elusive Charlie. Often the comic relief, Doyle's portrayal of Bosley gave the show warmth and humanity. But off-camera, his life was shadowed by misfortune. Married to Nathan, their union endured public smiles but private turmoil, strained by long separations and unspoken resentments. They had one daughter, Leah, who later distanced herself from him amid family conflict. Doyle suffered from lifelong anxiety and depression, worsened after the show ended, when he struggled to find work beyond voice acting and minor cameos. He was devastated by the sudden death of his sister Mary, and by his father's suicide, which haunted him until his last breath. Financial difficulties plagued his final years, as poor investments and medical bills drained his savings. A heavy smoker and drinker, he died of a heart attack in 1997 at 67, isolated in a hospital room with no family present. His estate was valued at approximately $400,000, a modest sum for a man who once made millions laugh. Cheryl Ladd stepped into the world of Charlie's Angels as Chris Monroe at 26, bringing a bubbly charm that masked inner grit. Her portrayal of Jill's younger sister was fresh and endearing, winning hearts instantly. Yet the years following her stardom brought heartbreak rather than continued fame. Cheryl's first marriage to David Ladd ended in a bitter custody battle over their daughter, Jordan, a conflict that left both mother and daughter scarred. Her second marriage to music producer Brian Russell offered brief calm but slowly eroded under the weight of unmet dreams. Cheryl faced 5 painful tragedies: a miscarriage that nearly killed her, the death of her mother from dementia, a house fire that destroyed years of memories, her estranged brother's suicide, and a public lawsuit over a failed autobiography. Roles grew scarce as Hollywood moved on. She retreated from acting, her voice silenced in rooms where she once shone. Now 73, Cheryl lives in quiet semi-retirement in California, occasionally appearing at conventions. Despite her sorrow-filled path, her estate remains steady, valued at $10 million, most of it from past endorsements and real estate investments. Kate Jackson, who brought intelligence and calm authority to the role of Sabrina Duncan, was 28 when Charlie's Angels first aired. Her portrayal as the brains of the trio made her beloved by viewers seeking substance behind the beauty. Yet her real life bore little of that balance. Kate married 3 times, each ending in silent heartbreak. Her brief union with Andrew Stevens was riddled with jealousy, her second marriage to David Greenwald marred by emotional neglect, and her third, to Tom Hart, collapsed under the weight of infertility struggles. She adopted a son, Charles Taylor, whom she raised alone while battling recurring health issues, including a life-threatening battle with breast cancer and a heart surgery that nearly claimed her life. Her strained relationships with co-stars, financial ruin from trusting the wrong advisors, and a decade-long battle with depression isolated her further. She walked away from acting in the 2000s, exhausted and forgotten by an industry she once lit up. Now 76, she lives in Tennessee, rarely seen in public. Her estate, once vast, has dwindled to an estimated $3 million, just enough for quiet dignity in the fading light. Farrah Fawcett, who portrayed Jill Monroe, the charming and athletic Angel, was 29 years old when Charlie's Angels began in 1976. Her sun-kissed hair, dazzling smile, and fierce independence made her a cultural icon, yet behind the camera, a fragile woman battled inner turmoil. Her post-Angels career was erratic, marred by inconsistent roles and tabloid invasions. She married actor Lee Majors in 1973, but their union dissolved in 1982 due to long separations and conflicting ambitions. Her longtime partner Ryan O'Neal was a turbulent presence in her life, passionate but plagued by infidelities and emotional distance. Together, they had one son, Redmond, whose struggles with addiction brought Fawcett great heartache. Among her life's tragedies, battling tabloid-fueled body image criticism, strained friendships in Hollywood, her son's repeated legal issues, and a public battle with anal cancer that robbed her of dignity. She died on June 25, 2009, at age 62, after a grueling and highly publicized illness. Her estate was valued at approximately $20 million, though legal disputes over its control overshadowed her final legacy. Shelley Hack, who played Tiffany Wells, the polished, Ivy League-trained Angel, joined the series in 1979 at age 32. Though her portrayal exuded grace and intellect, Hack was never fully embraced by fans or producers, leading to her premature exit after just 1 season. After the show, her acting career floundered, forcing her to retreat into the shadows of Hollywood. She married director Harry Weiner, a union that endured yet was often distant due to career pressures and emotional disconnect. They had 1 daughter, Devon Rose, but their family life was reportedly strained by Shelley's lingering depression and isolation. Hack struggled with self-worth, becoming a recluse for a time and facing 5 personal tragedies: a miscarriage, the loss of her younger sister in a car accident, a failed business venture, a stalker incident in the late 90s, and a quiet battle with anxiety. Now 77 years old, she lives quietly in Connecticut, involved in nonprofit media work. Her estate is currently estimated at $5 million, most of it tied to careful investments and her consultancy work in media development. Tanya Roberts, who took on the role of Julie Rogers, the street-smart, street-tough Angel in the show's final season, was 31 when she joined Charlie's Angels in 1980. Though she brought fresh energy and a rough edge to the series, her time on the show couldn't revive a flailing career. After brief roles in cult films like The Beastmaster and A View to a Kill, she was typecast and gradually faded from the spotlight. She married screenwriter Barry Roberts, a deeply devoted yet emotionally complex man. They had no children, and their bond, though affectionate, was burdened by long periods of illness and financial struggle. 5 tragedies marred her life: the slow death of her husband from encephalitis, the collapse of her late career comeback attempt, her estrangement from extended family, a traumatic mugging in LA, and years of caring for Barry in silence and poverty. Tanya passed away on January 4, 2021, at the age of 71, from complications related to a urinary tract infection. Her estate, valued at around $1 million, was modest, reflecting a life of fame that flickered too fast and burned too quietly in the end. Nancy Fox portrayed Jean, Bosley's secretary, a minor yet endearing character who brought a subtle warmth to the otherwise adrenaline-fueled narrative of Charlie's Angels. She was just 21 years old when the series began, eager and bright-eyed in a ruthless industry. While she hoped the role would launch her into stardom, it instead marked the peak of a career that never truly began. Nancy married twice, first to a jazz musician, Leonard Greaves, whose chronic infidelity and substance abuse ended the marriage within 5 years. Her second marriage to novelist Peter Carraway brought some comfort, but his suicide in 1999 shattered her world. She had 2 daughters, Marina and Lila, both of whom distanced themselves from the entertainment industry, and for years, from their mother. Her tragedies include a bitter custody battle, bankruptcy in the early 90s, breast cancer remission, long-term clinical depression, and the death of her best friend in a hit-and-run accident. Now 70, Nancy lives a reclusive life in Northern California, surviving on residual checks and a modest pension. Her estate is estimated at $800,000, barely a shadow of what might have been. Rick Casorla, who made minor yet notable guest appearances in Charlie's Angels, never gained lasting recognition despite his consistent contributions to television throughout the late 1970s. His performances, though brief, offered a grounded presence that added subtle realism to the show's more flamboyant plotlines. Unfortunately, his career after the series failed to flourish. Typecast and overlooked by major casting directors, he drifted into smaller, uncredited parts before eventually leaving the industry altogether. Very little is known about his personal life, though it is rumored he married a production assistant named Linda Torres in the early 80s. Their marriage, marred by financial struggles and creative disappointments, ended in divorce after only 3 years. They had one son, Miguel, who has remained out of the public eye. Rick reportedly lived the remainder of his life in relative isolation, haunted by missed opportunities and quietly battling depression. His whereabouts and current status remain unconfirmed, a sad metaphor for a man who once stood in Hollywood's shadow. Should he have passed, it is likely his estate was modest, estimated under $200,000, having never achieved the wealth or recognition his talent deserved. Elkie Jones, who guest starred in a single episode of Charlie's Angels, was 51 when he appeared on the show, bringing his rugged charm and classic Western edge to a suspenseful storyline. Known for his long-standing collaborations with director Sam Peckinpah, Jones carved a niche for himself in gritty, morally complex roles. Off-screen, however, his life was less structured. He married actress Nita Lewis in the early 1950s, a union that ended in divorce after just over a decade. They had one son, Randy, who struggled with substance abuse throughout much of his adult life, reportedly estranged from his father for many years. Jones never remarried and often spoke of feeling more comfortable in the solitude of nature than the noise of Hollywood. Tragedy visited him often: his brother's suicide, the loss of close friend Strother Martin, and a house fire in the 1990s that destroyed much of his personal memorabilia. He passed away on July 9, 2022, at the age of 94 from natural causes. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at $1.5 million, largely from residuals and modest real estate holdings. Paul Cavonis made multiple guest appearances on Charlie's Angels, playing different characters with a signature versatility that made him a dependable yet underappreciated actor of the era. Likely in his late 30s to early 40s during his time on the show, Cavonis never quite broke into stardom despite an extensive resume in television. After Charlie's Angels, he struggled to maintain a steady career, often relegated to supporting roles in forgettable series. He was briefly married to a fellow stage actress named Eleni Mavros, but their relationship crumbled under the strain of 2 miscarriages and financial instability. They divorced in the mid-1980s and had no surviving children. Paul's family life had always been troubled. His mother died young, his brother was incarcerated, and he himself faced bankruptcy in the 1990s. A recluse in his final years, he reportedly battled alcoholism and was institutionalized briefly in 2008 after a breakdown. Current records on his status are scarce, but if deceased, it is believed his estate amounted to less than $150,000, reflecting a career marked by near misses and obscurity. Soon Taek-oh, who delivered a chilling guest performance as a calculating villain in Charlie's Angels, was 35 when he appeared on the show. Known for his sharp features and stoic delivery, Oh often found himself typecast in roles that capitalized on Asian stereotypes. Born in Korea and raised partly in Japan and the US, he carried the burden of cultural dislocation throughout his life. Though he later became an advocate for Asian representation in the arts, his own career suffered due to Hollywood's narrow vision. He married opera singer Myung-hee Cho, but their marriage was reportedly strained by his workaholism and inability to provide emotional intimacy. They had 2 daughters, Hannah and Soo-min, both of whom distanced themselves from their father after his repeated absences and harsh discipline. His later years were clouded by a series of strokes, the death of his younger sister, and a legal battle over unpaid taxes. He passed away on April 4, 2018, at the age of 74 from Alzheimer's-related complications. Despite his struggles, he left behind an estate valued at approximately $600,000, and his legacy lives on through the East-West Players Theatre Company he helped foster. Norman Alden, who appeared as a guest star in supporting roles on Charlie's Angels, was 52 years old when the series began in 1976. Known for his distinctive voice and weathered presence, Alden brought gravitas to even the smallest roles. Despite his on-screen confidence, his personal life was a tapestry of heartbreak. He married Luana McMeans in the 1950s, and they had 1 son, Brent Alden. However, the marriage crumbled under the strain of his work and long absences, ending in a quiet divorce. Norman later remarried, but the union was brief and childless. He was largely estranged from his family in his later years, including his son, who pursued a different path away from the industry. Alden's life was riddled with struggles, failing health, a bitter lawsuit over unpaid royalties, declining memory, a painful estrangement from friends, and a fire that destroyed much of his personal memorabilia. Despite these trials, he continued to act into his 80s, driven by the craft that gave him purpose. He died on July 27, 2012, at the age of 87 from natural causes. His estate was modest, valued at around $400,000, and was left mostly to charity and a distant niece. Denny Miller, remembered for his rugged charm and commanding presence, guest-starred in supporting roles on Charlie's Angels at age 42. He was once hailed as a television Tarzan and seemed destined for enduring fame. However, behind the camera, his life unraveled. Married twice, first to Kit Smythe, then to Nancy Miller, both unions ended in emotional exhaustion. He had 2 children, a daughter named Erin and a son named Dean, but his relationship with them became strained after years on the road promoting his fading image. Miller's career spiraled downward in the 1980s, leaving him disillusioned and financially strained. He faced several personal battles, including a diagnosis of ALS, the foreclosure of his home, a suicide attempt in 2002, and a public lawsuit against a talent agency that never reached resolution. In his final years, he lived in quiet isolation, writing poetry and memoirs that never saw publication. Denny Miller passed away on September 9, 2014, at age 80 from complications related to ALS. His estate, burdened by medical debt, was estimated at $150,000 and was largely consumed by end-of-life care. Joseph Hacker, who lent his subtle versatility to supporting roles in Charlie's Angels, was 32 when the show premiered in 1976. Though never a household name, Hacker possessed a quiet talent that brought realism to even the smallest characters. His personal life, however, was marked by deep sorrow and missed connections. Married only once to theater actress Melinda Cruz, the union was plagued by infidelity, grief, and long separations due to touring commitments. They had 3 children, Lucas, Rachel, and Julian, but Joseph's inconsistent presence led to years of estrangement. After Melinda's death in a car accident in 1993, he became reclusive, withdrawing from both family and stage. Hacker endured a battle with depression, bankruptcy in the late 90s, a serious car accident that left him with mobility issues, and the loss of his younger brother to suicide. Although he continued voice acting into his 60s, Joseph never returned to television. Now 80 years old, he lives in a modest retirement community in Oregon, mostly forgotten by Hollywood. His estimated estate stands at $300,000, quietly managed by his eldest son, with whom he has recently reconnected. Who is your favorite character from Charlie's Angels? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.